All right. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the meeting of the Oakland Mills Community Association. I'm going to open us up with a call for a motion to approve the minutes from our February 23rd, 2021 meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, Bill moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Jenny seconds. Is there any discussion of the February 23rd minutes? Okay, all in favor of approving? 1, 2, 3, 4. 400. Okay, next on the agenda is there a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's board meeting?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Bill makes the motion, Ginny seconds. Is there any discussion of tonight's agenda? Okay, all in favor of approving? 400. Thank you very much. Okay, before we get into remarks from our other residents, we have a distinguished guest with us. We have Dr. Opal Jones, the Vice Chair of the County Council and Oakland Mills District 2 representative. And he is here to make a presentation to a couple of our recently former board members. Unfortunately, Paul Verchinsky had a conflicting meeting tonight, so he was unable to make it, but we do have Bob Verma with us. And Dr. Jones, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you all so much for having me. I won't take up too much of your time. And since I thankfully have a share screen, can I share my screen?
Yeah, I will. Just a second.
Okay, I was gonna just share it. Yeah, I just have a couple of certificates for the members of the Oakland Mills Village Board who are outgoing, and just want to
Hey,
thank
you can do that now
service,
if you want.
and I will be out of your hair.
I
Okay,
think you can share.
yes. Let's make sure I share the right thing. That's not the right thing. I'm sorry.
Oh no, that looks
Now,
that's too
I'm
hard for
sorry.
us.
I'm sorry. Not for you.
Yeah, we're not doing that tonight.
Okay, there's a Warren Wortman trying to come in, and I guess I have host. I should have host things. Okay, hi Warren. Okay.
I got him.
All right, thanks. All right, here we go. So we will start with Paul Verchinsky. Here we go. A certificate of appreciation awarded to Paul Verchinsky from the Oakland Mills Village Board. We thank you for your commitment, dedication, and service to our community, and we deeply appreciate your outstanding leadership for the betterment of Oakland Mills. Best wishes on your future endeavors. And then I think I could do this from here. Let's see, let me stop sharing. Okay, and I will go here and here. Should know how to use this by now. Okay, here we go. And the same thing to Bob Verma. Thank you so much, Mr. Verma, for your commitment and dedication and service to our community. We deeply appreciate your outstanding leadership for the betterment of Oakland Mills. Best wishes on your future endeavors. Thank you so much to Paul Verchinsky and to Bob Verma. We definitely appreciate you both.
Thank you.
Hey, nice.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jones, for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. Bog, was there anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, I would like to thank Dr. Jones for his very generous and kind words. I don't deserve what you said, but I got more than what I deserve. And I'm not going very far away from here. I'll be just across the street. And whenever you want me to come and help you in any way, I'll be too delighted to do that. And I have learned something from every member of the board. And if you permit me, I will have a few words beginning from the chairperson, Jonathan Edelson. What I have learned from him is how to achieve agreement despite disagreements. And this is a very high quality of a good leader. This is one of the distinguishing qualities of a good leader. Ginny Thomas. She is a community historian. I have learned the history and the culture of Oakland Mills from her, and I will be ever grateful to her. Paul, he left board a short while ago, but I have learned from him the art of mathematics. The art of mathematics, always on the mark and on target. Bill, the vice chair of OMCA. I have learned from Bill how to remain young despite your age. Bill is forever young. I used to meet him at the CA-run Supreme Sports Club, and I followed his formula, how to remain young, and I'm still following that. Lynn, she's an artist and an architect combined into one. She makes sure that the properties in our community are among the best anywhere. Rebecca, I learned from her how youth and energy can do miracles for the community. She made a great contribution to ensure that bicycle lanes are safe for the bicyclists. And Sandy, she is a mother angel, assisted by able Amy Carpenter. You have a problem, she has a solution. No problem is too big for Sandy, and hats off to her and to Amy Carpenter for doing a great job for the OMCA. I may have missed newer members because I didn't have proper interaction with them. But I thank you once again for giving me the opportunity to do something for the community. And I will ever be grateful for this opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Jones, for coming and giving me words of appreciation, which I don't deserve. I got more than what I deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Bog, and you
Thank
deserve
you.
it
That was
all. Thank you
beautiful.
for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. We all learned a lot from you as well. We're going to miss you. Maybe you could stay involved in some committees. I mean, you're
Absolutely.
Yeah.
yeah,
Don't be a stranger.
you're only
Yeah, sure.
also
Yeah, let me settle
Um,
down in my new house, and then I will catch up the thread.
Okay.
And Dr. Jones, while you're still here, I just want to say one more thing. I want to maybe embarrass a couple of people. I want to point out Ashley and Michael, your assistants, because they've been very, very helpful to the community. They've been in touch with our board and with Sandy on numerous issues, and they've helped us work to a lot of solutions. So we greatly appreciate their not only their presence here tonight, but their presence in our community and their frequent attendance at our meetings and their quick responses when issues come up and we contact them.
Thank you so much for mentioning that. Michael and Ashley are both amazing. Thank you. Thank
All
you,
right.
Bob, and thank you, Paul,
Thank you.
again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Or stay.
Yeah, you're welcome to stay if you want. Okay,
Yeah,
we are going.
I'll leave because yesterday I pulled a muscle in my arm, and it is paining very bad, and I need some rest.
You know, Bog,
Good rest, Bob.
talking about working out at the club, will you stop lifting those 200 pounds?
Thank you so much.
Okay, feel better.
Thank you, Bog. Feel better.
Great. Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to resident remarks. Any resident wishing to make remarks to the board can have up to 3 minutes to do so. If anyone out there would like to make remarks, please use the hand raise feature in Zoom or turn on your video and wave your hand at me to get my attention. Remarks going once, remarks going twice. No remarks. All right, we're going to move on to new business. So I would like to welcome to our Oakland Mills meeting, Nina Basu. Nina is the president and CEO of the Inner Arbor Trust, and she is here to talk to us about the new concept plan for Symphony Woods. So Nina, take it away. You have 15 minutes.
Thank you very much. Do I have the ability to share my screen?
I can give that to you. Hang
Okay,
on one
awesome.
sec. Oh, yeah, you should be able to.
Fantastic. You're 2 steps ahead of me. Appreciate it. It's good to see everyone. I know a lot of you. And as Jonathan said, today I am here as my day job instead of, I guess I was going to call it my night job, but that just sounds wrong, on the Long Ridge Village Board. I know a lot of you from that. So I'm here today to just share a little bit about our updated concept plan for Symphony Woods. And this concept plan has been approved by the trust board and the CA board. And I want to talk a little bit about the process of how we got here and what we can expect in Symphony Woods. But before we get there, just as a matter of geography, a lot of people think town center and Wild Lake and sometimes even Hickory Ridge are right by Symphony Woods. Anyone here live in Stevens Forest? Because anyone who lives in Stevens Forest knows that with the bridge and the trail, Stevens Forest Elementary School is about 3/4 of a mile from the Chrysalis stage. So you really are our neighbors. The mission statement of the Inner Arbor Trust is to promote and nurture a park in a unique natural setting for a variety of arts and culture experiences that enrich the entire community. Again, we're here because this piece of land is so vital to the whole community. This is the vision of a central park for Columbia, all of Columbia. This is Keystone Green Space in downtown Columbia. And as you know, just over that bridge, Keystone Green Space for access for residents of Oakland Mills and other villages. I just wanted to give just a quick diagram of the lay of the land. And this is a little bit dated because some of the stuff around is different. But this is the phasing diagram in the easement between CA and the trust. So this little piece in the center, this 10.4 acres, is Meriwether Post Pavilion. That's owned by the Downtown Columbia Arts and Culture Commission, which is a nonprofit, and it's managed by It's My Amphitheater, which is affiliated with IMP, which is a DC-based promoter. And that's where you see all the commercial shows. And this 50.6 acres is phases 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the trust CA easement. The trust currently has control of phase 1 and some limited control of phase 2. We made the strategic decision when going through the concept plan to really just consider phases 1, 2, and 3. As you can see, most of phase 4 is discontinuous and sort of jumps over Meriwether Drive. So we decided creating a concept plan for that right now was premature. We used a community-based process, and I'm not going to go through everyone's name, I promise, to drive the vision, the community vision for this space. It included institutional partners like the, Columbia Association, Rec and Parks, the DAC, adjacent business owners, and most importantly, residents. I am happy to tell you that this was a very diverse committee in all ways, and we ranged in age from 24 to not 24, much older than 24. So we had the whole gamut of the community there. What we heard from the community is they wanted us to build on the vision and legacy of Columbia to make the park a popular destination for all, to respect and enhance the nature that was there already, to ensure that the park works as a 365-day per year space for everyone, to selectively add features that are flexible to accommodate a variety of activities, and to create a unique arts park. It should promote art and culture. So without further ado, here's a concept plan. You can see the geology and topographical map. We have the structures that are laying delicately on the land rather than overbuilding. And this is the park framework. The woods are the areas where you usually see larger festivals, larger events. It's more wooded, there are more meadow areas, and the land is a little bit stronger here. The creeks, however, are the majority of the property. And after doing an analysis, the creeks really are there for passive recreational uses and need to be protected. Some images of the character of the park. It's, not completely in nature, but the colors and schemes and materials are based in nature. And this is the concept plan graphic. We'll go through the pieces. So first, we're being very respectful of the land. We want to create a magical entrance into the park and use bridges where appropriate to really avoid over building in the stream beds. And these on the east side are where we see bridges coming in. Images of the bridges. When we come into the park, we don't want to think that we're just in Meriwether Post Pavilion's front or backyard, or, we're not really sure who this property belongs to or what it is. We want people to be welcomed into the park and understand that this is public space for people to be in at all times. So as you can see on the east side, the gateways really focus on these bridges. And on the west side, we're taking the asphalt that's already there and actually making it work better, reducing it in aggregate to create a welcoming space. And this over here would be like the MedStar building, just to get oriented. So this is an image of what the Northwest Gateway would look like. I'm really excited about these vegetal strips because in addition to being kind of cool, this is also great green infrastructure. My colleague is currently testifying to try to get some county funding for it. This green infrastructure will help treat stormwater. If you've been into the park, you know that standing water is a big problem for us. So the Southern Gateway. And this is the Western Terraces, is where we're going to connect to this ridge line, this high point on the property. And these are just some images. This is where an amenities building will go, which will have some event space, but most importantly, bathrooms and other support for the park itself. This is the Southern Gateway. One of the things that we're trying to do in addition to managing this stormwater better is to take a space that's already there, this underpass, and make it, as they have in other communities, something that is inviting and also something that promotes safety because, you can see through it and there's lighting. Great parks have great edges. You want to know that you're in the park and not in some random place. And we talked about the vegetal strips. We also are working with Howard County EcoWorks and some grant possibilities to really heavily plant native species in rain gardens and tiered rain gardens with something. If you want to talk about biochar soil amendment later, I'm happy to. I drive people crazy because it's a really cool piece of technology to help clean the water as it comes through. You can see this is the ridge line on the intersection of the pavilion and park. So this is the existing condition. It's just not very inviting. This is actually some of the most beautiful parts of the space. If you turn your back to MPP, you look through towards the mall, Little Patuxent actually disappears. It's beautiful vistas. So what we want to do is put up some better fencing that will allow people to feel more welcome in that space. And also make that space more functional because that is public space and we should be doing cool things. And there's some food truck festivals and other ideas that we're showing here. This fencing is not just fencing, but a covered walkway. We're calling this the colonnade. And this is a porous border. So if MPP and the DAC in the future are able to make the lawn at MPP accessible to the public, so it's extra park space, that's fantastic. On a normal day, people can go back and forth. If there's a festival, people can go back and forth. But if there's something at MPP, we can close these and the space is still accessible to the public. The pavilions, it's great to go to the chrysalis. We need more basic pavilions, still great pieces of architecture, but places to go picnic and places that are easier to just hang out in on any given day. So these are the pavilions and, excuse me, and everything in Symphony Woods has to do triple duty. So the pavilions are also engineered to be thrust stages. So for example, now if we turn on the chrysalis, there are certain infrastructure costs just to turn it on. With this kind of small thrust stage that can, be a thrust stage, but is usually a pavilion, we could put together a puppet show for 50 people or something like that with very low infrastructure cost. It's a gazebo, similar idea. And then this is the nest. You see that we've got this area and this lovely pond that needs some dredging, but really is a lovely space. We're trying to find a way to screen out some of what's behind it and really let people think and experience that nature and feel like they're completely, in this lovely space. We're creating infrastructure for art. instead of proposing specific art installations right now, we are trying to find places that visual arts and performing arts are going to be integrated into this concept. And we've worked previously with the Arts Council in their Art Sites program, and we're working towards being able to do like visiting arts installations, maybe traveling sculptures, and these are all examples of temporary exhibitions in other parks. And I really like play, so one of the concerns in prior plans is that there wasn't enough play space for families in downtown. So near the amenities building, we're looking to have acoustic and kinetic play. It's a little smaller in scale, so great for little kids. If you've been to Pierce's Park by the aquarium, it's very similar. This is either the butterfly or the moth, take your pick, we've been arguing, which is more traditional play in this artistic form. And this is, if anyone's a Star Wars fan, my kids call this the Ewok Village. This is the Bend in the Creek playground. This is actually a stream restoration and education project, and all abilities, not just some abilities, but all abilities playground, intergenerational playground, where you can experience the stream and get through, higher into the trees through a series of ramps. Now, this is not the exciting part, but this is the part that is really, really important as well. In addition to making these infrastructure improvements, it's very important to manage the woods. We have a single age canopy. It is not in great condition. So what we need to do is invest in planting this understory species and to continue to maintain the canopy. The first set of new trees will be going in October of 2021. And of course, this space is very important to all of downtown Columbia, all of Columbia. I'm pretty sure most of you could figure out how to walk to Stevens Forest from this map. And we really worked really hard with the adjacent property owners to make sure that the pathway system within the park really engaged all of the area. And that's all I have. Happy to take any questions.
Thanks very much, Nina. Does anyone on the board have questions? Ginny?
Well, I'll get to a question in a minute, but first, I would really like to congratulate Nina and the very diverse group that worked on this in record time. They had lots of public hearings, as well as the CA board had several public hearings. So it was a
And you're
very
not
open-
muted.
What?
Nothing.
Oh, it was a very open, transparent process, which I want to compliment you, your staff, the board, and all the advocates that work with you. That was fantastic. The bathrooms are long overdue for all the events that you do. It's just terrible that that has not been worked out before. The path system is another issue that I want to congratulate you guys on. We're finally moving in that direction. I believe CA's been playing an active role with you on that, Dennis, and that is long overdue. You have to have a path system to get to facilities. You can't have people walking over all the land and causing problems. So a lot of things that should have been done. Now, food trucks may be debatable for some people, but the whole Millennium Group that we have that is dying to have food trucks, and a lot of people love food trucks. So the buildings, but also the environmental concerns, the way you're treating the land is great. The last thing is I'd like to congratulate you. My understanding tonight from a colleague on the CA board is that King's Contrivance Village Board has voted and will be doing a letter, which we may want to take a look at, to the county, asking them to support funding for some of these projects. So I think
Thank
that—
you. I didn't know that. I'm glad to hear that.
Well, that's
Fantastic.
a first. Okay. So
Thrilled.
I'm just making a little hint here, that we may, Oakland Mills Village Board may want to consider the same thing and get a look at what King's Contrivance is writing, but they apparently are really behind this. And so anyway, just congratulations.
Thank
I
you.
think it's long overdue, but you did it in record time. And and what I think people need to understand, what the CA board did on this is replace this, what was known as the McCall plan, replace that with this, which is a much, much better plan for all generations, all age groups, from an environmental point of view, from all points of view, safety, health, just great job.
Thanks. The east side bathrooms, they are built. We are waiting for a use and occupancy permit. Those are the shared use bathrooms. So I am cautiously optimistic that, since literally I was in there the other day, they look like they're done. As long as the county signs up on a couple of water issues, we will have real, amazing, awesome bathrooms. I mean, it seems like such a small thing, but it's a really huge thing when, you know, you have hundreds of thousands of people through the park in a season. So,
Well, and you also have people that are parking and handicapped, you know, and need help, and it's really a horrible situation that's been going on. So I hope you're going to be allowed to share. I hope the Inner Arbor
we
Trust.
will, because there's an easement on it, so it will work out.
Okay. Always the optimist, but you have a right to that, and you should, and I just want to see it happen. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ginny. Lynn?
Yeah, I really like the plan, and having lived through a period where we've had, I think this is probably the third plan I've seen, because before the one that gave us the chrysalis as part of it, there was another plan early on that Columbia Association put out. So this, I really like. It's a nice balance of having areas that can be programmed with areas that are more sort of passive enjoyment, like the way that you're respecting the environment. Really like the fact that you're taking care of the trees and planting some new trees, and doing that in a really mindful way. My question is, can you tell us what the status of this is now? So this is the plan. So where are we in the
Funding cycle?
In the timeline to get this
In the
done?
funding cycle, yes, that is the fair question. So with CA's assistance, we put in one path, which is reflected in this plan. Obviously, the plan understood the path was going in when we worked through this. During COVID, we have a second path fully funded, and that is from money from Howard County Rec and Parks, and that path that is funded right now. The target date to start, I think, is, for some reason, July 2nd, which seems like a really terrible target date now that I say it out loud. But you know, I'm hoping it's actually, you know, whatever the next workday after the 4th is. But so that is going in and will be in before the end of the calendar year. So that is a small piece, but it's a particularly large piece. In terms of the larger pieces, we are in the process of working through the amenities building. We have some pre-existing grant money on that design. We held up that design, the spend of that design money, until we had a cohesive plan for the entirety of the property, because it seemed really silly to design something that, you know, was not going to get built in the wrong place. So that is moving forward. We are looking for funding right now. We have 2 requests into the county executive's budget process. They are both mostly environmentally related. It is for the park edging, which is in partnership with Howard County EcoWorks, and we are also partners with them on a couple of their grant applications. Anyone in the nonprofit sector knows that any project takes lots of grant applications with lots of partners. So that is a really cool opportunity to put in those plantings and also deal with a lot of this runoff. There is a reality to the changes. I understand downtown was always slated for development, but the changes in the road alignment and the reduction of you know, vegetation to soak up some of that water has increased the stormwater issues we face on the site. So that investment kind of does two things. One, it's site furnishings that allow people to sit and to enjoy the park, plantings that are beautiful, but it also helps soak up the water. The tree plantings is through a different funding mechanism, and I know I'm going to get 100 trees at the end of the year. So it's not enough, but it's a start. And some of those trees are strategically planted in areas to, kind of minimize cars going in the wrong place and really create some structure. We are also asking the county for funding for the stream restoration and Bend in the Creek playground. We are going to continue to look for funding sources. If I had full funding, though we're not completely sure what that number is, but with full funding, this is a 36 to 48 month project to design and build. More realistically, it's a 5 to 7 year project in pieces.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Bill, and then Rebecca.
Yes, Nina, what
But,
is, with everything fully developed, what will be the total price tag and where will all the money come from?
That is an excellent question. And so I cannot give you a complete answer on what the total price tag will be, just because some of these pieces are in flux. Like, for example, when we were trying to base price out what the colonnade would cost, what we think it will cost today is probably far more because lumber's prices just spiked 6 times what normal would be, and it's likely to dip again. So I will say that the total cost will be far less than the prior plan. It is less intensive. And while I think things are artful in how they are put together, and they're still unique and special, we're not trying to bend steel this time. It's some of those really expensive pieces have been moved to the side. If there's a 4th plan or a 5th plan, and after this is built out and there is the funding stream for those types of pieces, that's fine. But first we need to build the paths and the restrooms and the infrastructure. Where is the money going to come from? It's going to come from a variety of sources. I will tell you right now, we either have applied or are in the process of applying for funding from the recreational trails program, which is Federal Highway Administration money administered by Maryland State Highway, EPA, G3, Green Jobs, Green Towns, Green Streets, I think, partnership money, Chesapeake Bay Trust money, FEMA money. It's not much, but there's actually a little FEMA money out there for plantings for flood mitigation from Howard County. We're working to try to develop more relationships on the federal side because, for me, I'm a CA lien payer, I'm a Howard County taxpayer, I'm a state of Maryland taxpayer, and I pay a whole lot in federal taxes, and I'd like to see some of that spent here. We are looking at private grants. We have been, calendar 19 was great. I don't want to think about calendar 20 right now, but in calendar 19, we had 300 different individual donors, and we were able to bring in a number of corporate sponsors for programming, and we are working to build those funding streams as well, individuals and corporate gifts and grants. But I do think a significant piece of this will come from government sources, and we will in the future also be asking CA for funding. We did not ask this year for somewhat obvious reasons.
Thanks.
Thanks, Nina. If anyone's wondering what's going on with me here, Domino has joined the meeting, so that's why I'm fidgeting off to the side here. Rebecca, you had a question?
Not a question, just an appreciation for your plan. I really love how you are meshing it with nature, and even the playgrounds are not like big concrete structure. They're blending really nicely. And as a parent of small children where all the playgrounds are the same metal structures, I really love the creativity in that space for some open-ended play. So
my children have very high expectations. So literally once a day, one or the other says, okay, tell me, have you finished a grant application for my Ewok Village playground yet? And I'm like, really, guys?
Glad they're
That's
keeping
my
your feet to
word.
the fire.
Yes, they are.
So thank you, Nina. You know, my comment is to me, a good public space should accomplish three things, right? It should be attractive, it should be useful to everyone, and it should be not only environmentally sound, but also environmentally friendly. And you know, it looks to me like you've hit all three. So I also appreciate the plan.
Thank you very much for your time.
All right,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much. And to the board, if we're interested in bringing this back as old business, you know, we've already prepared some budget testimony for the county executive. The second hearing is tonight, so we simply resubmitted what we did last time. But there will be opportunities to talk to the council in the future because the budget season is really just getting underway. So if we're interested, I can bring this back as old business, and Sandy and I can work on getting a copy of that letter from the King's Contrivance Village Board.
I suggest we do that. I'd like to see that come back.
Okay. All right. All right, we are going to move on to the next item of new business, and Rebecca brought this. It's the pedestrian crossing at Stevens Forest in Whiteacre. I actually went out today and took some pictures so I can share them as we talk through it. And I did text Rebecca to ask if I could expand the scope a little. So in addition to talking about the crossing at Stevens Forest in Whiteacre, while we're doing this, since we might be looking for a comprehensive solution, I'd also like to include the crosswalk at basically, it's the crosswalk at Forest Ridge and the Village Center. If you can picture, just if you're coming north on Stevens Forest Road, just past Robert Oliver Place, there's that crosswalk that connects the driveway of Forest Ridge to basically the corner where the Little Caesars is. Rebecca, did you want to take it away and let me know if you want me to share the pictures?
Sure. I have noticed a lot lately. Every time because you know, I'm on my bike all the time and I travel a lot up Thunder Hill through the village center across to the 29 bridge pretty regularly, twice a week. And there have been so many kids who go to the convenience store, cross Stevens Forest and sit at that little circle on the benches. And it's awesome that they have a gathering place. They're like a group of 10 kids. They were being so respectful and socially distant of each other, wearing their masks. They were probably like 6 to 10 years old. And they were all sitting around that circle, spaced apart, eating their snacks. It was so cute. Anyway, there's been so many kids that I have seen there. And I am afraid to cross that road as an adult on my bike to cross Stevens Forest. There's no stop sign there. And the crosswalk is hard to see. So I just would like to try to make something happen there to keep everybody a bit safer, especially with the pathway there to encourage the families to go back and forth.
So I went out today and thanks, Rebecca. I went out today and I took pictures to support what Rebecca's saying, because I agree about 150% with what Rebecca's saying. So I took this picture of the crosswalk Rebecca is talking about. And I mean, I think most everyone here is familiar with Stevens Forest Road. So I am standing on the northbound side of Stevens Forest Road, looking north toward the crosswalk at Whiteacre. And obviously you can see the fluorescent yellow signs telling you there's a crosswalk coming, but because of the topography, you can see Stevens Forest Road looks like it drops over the edge. If you're driving a car at 30 miles an hour, hopefully you're only driving at 30 miles an hour. It is Stevens Forest Road. This is your view as you're covering, you know, half a mile a minute. So you're coming up on this crosswalk really quickly, and you can't actually see the crosswalk. You see that there are signs, but you can't actually see where the crosswalk is as you're approaching this. So, you know, now picture people in this, and they would just look like little stick figures to us in this picture. And they might even blend in with the buildings in the background, because the buildings in the background are, you know, just kind of gray. So, you know, I share the same concern as Rebecca, and I didn't get down far enough to take it from the north, but you'd basically be looking uphill at the crosswalk rather than downhill at the crosswalk, because it's basically right at the crest, or right after it crest. It's kind of after the drop off. The other one is I'm sure most of us are familiar with. So this is me standing basically next to the old Exxon lot. The van making the turn there is going into Forest Ridge. So that's the crosswalk from Forest Ridge to Little Caesars. It's not as invisible as the others, but it's also what I like to call an unprotected crosswalk. There's no stop sign, there are no flashing lights. All you have are those two signs. It doesn't even have one of those pylons in the road that says Maryland law says stop for people in the crosswalk. So I'm with Rebecca on this. And Rebecca, I don't know if you want to weigh in. One of the thoughts I had that could be, one of the maybe least things we could do if we're not talking about putting in more stop signs or anything like that is they did something neat at Blandair Park. If you go into Blandair Park and you cross Oakland Mills Road to get to basically to cross from the east side of the park to the west side, the crosswalk there has a sensor, and if a pedestrian basically comes off the sidewalk to the little ramp to go down into the crosswalk, the sensor picks them up and it flashes strobe lights at the cars coming in each direction. So, they are now warned that not only is there a crosswalk, but there's someone in the crosswalk because they have lights flashing at them. So that was one of the thoughts I had, where you could improve these crosswalks without necessarily, putting something in there that is forcing traffic to stop when there's no one in the crosswalk. But of course, there are other options as well. So
Yeah, I guess
those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I've done a lot of studying of walkability and complete streets, and Stevens Forest is all wrong at this point, at this part of the road, just because it's such a wide, flat, open road that cars can go a lot faster than they should because it feels very safe and open, visibility is clear. And the lanes are very wide. They're not narrow lanes, so pedestrians have that much farther to cross. So to make it totally safe, I mean, I would put in whatever you call it, like waste
Center island,
not
or on the
not a
side.
center, yeah, the side things that
Right,
make the
bump outs.
lanes narrower,
Yeah.
and have a raised crosswalk. And at Whiteacre, I think a stop sign is appropriate because there's enough cars that come through there. But I mean, I don't think that's for us. We just get a traffic study, right?
What's a
Yeah.
raised crosswalk? I'm like having a moment.
It's
here.
Kind
basically
of
like
like
a
a speed bump.
crosswalk on top of a speed hump.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I think at Whiteacre, there could be a stop because you already have a stop sign for those coming off Whiteacre. So it would be good for pedestrians, bikers, and vehicles if you
Could
also
be.
stop Stevens Forest.
A three-way
probably-
stop?
It would be a three-way stop.
Yeah.
I don't know that a stop would work very well here, only
No.
because you're
No.
on this straightaway. The other thing we should keep in mind, and the reason I was saying maybe flashing lights for now, is in our budget testimony, and something our board has consistently been pushing for, is the completion of the streetscape. So the county did the Whiteacre streetscape. There was supposed to be a similar streetscape from Whiteacre up Stevens or down Stevens Forest Road, I guess, all the way to the Camelback and Santiago intersection. And that streetscape would have done, Rebecca, a lot of what you were saying. It would have redefined the crosswalks. It would have narrowed the lanes. I think it would have actually included on-street parking on the northbound side of the road and a bike lane next to that, sort of like the rest of Stevens Forest Road. It would have had some, the environmentally responsible runoff capture thingies that Whiteacre has. So that, I think that should still be our long-term goal, but I think we should also be discussing a shorter-term solution to ensure safety now until that gets done.
Yeah, can I also say, coming from the other direction, Columbia Point, I always had a really difficult time, and I think they don't have parking on the side that's coming towards Whiteacre from Columbia Point, right? On Stevens Forest Road. Did they take out the parking there
It
on
was
the road?
I think
Well,
it says no parking.
it was
Yeah.
technically never legal parking because it's the bike lane, but people were using it until they put up the signs.
So I think it's a little bit better now, but it was really hard coming around that corner to see if somebody, I mean, even worse than coming from this direction that we're seeing on the screen right now. It was really, really hard to see when the pedestrians were there. I always slowed down to like 20 miles an hour, and I'm not a person who drives slow, but there were just, it was just so easy to hit somebody in that, coming from that direction, even worse than this
And-
direction.
And we want this area, we want people walking around. We want to invite people to, come walk to the village center and be around there. So this doesn't give that idea.
No, it's terrible. And years ago, like the answer to the Forest Ridge intersection was just to paint those yellow lines. But that was just a Band-Aid. And then nothing ever happened, but it's way, way too wide. And that street, I mean, you hear the cars racing down that street. So
Yeah, and there's normally a bus stop right there too. And I've seen people not really wait for, stop for the parents with their kids going across or for the kids by themselves right after the bus leaves. They don't wait. Even though they can see that there's kids there waiting to cross. They just keep going.
Yeah, so I think we can do a lot. Anything. The flashing lights is nice, Jonathan. Whatever we can get done fastest is great. And then we can work on the bigger solutions. I like that.
do you feel like we should invite someone from traffic to come to a very soon meeting in the near future? Because sometimes the letters just get lost in the shuffle. I'm just wondering what step of the way we should try to do that. Jonathan, any ideas?
I think we should, because obviously there's, first and foremost, this is a safety issue. So we would need traffic to weigh in on what the best fix is for the safety issue. We're throwing ideas around based on other things we've seen, but they should be the professionals who know what works best for this type of road. And personally, I also think maybe we should start pushing harder for the streetscape. We just heard from Nina, and there are beautiful things happening on the other side of the bridge. And then you cross the bridge, you walk through the woods into Oakland Mills. That looks nice. And then once you get past Forest Ridge, you're greeted with this.
I agree.
You're greeted with a crosswalk you can't get across, and Stevens Forest Road that, quite frankly, does not look like an inviting road. Now, once you get across and you get on Whiteacre, that looks nice after they did the streetscape. But
yeah, we
Stevens
had
Forest
asked
is a
for-
mess.
We had asked for the streetscape priority to be Stevens Forest Road.
Yeah,
And they went and did Whiteacre, a portion of it, I think because it was a less expensive streetscape, but it didn't make sense then and it doesn't make sense now, and it shouldn't stop. It needs to continue.
yeah.
We invested a lot of community time in that. And I think that's really important.
And this is not our only problem on this stretch, because we know that, behind me, from the perspective of this picture, behind me is the four-way stop at Stevens Forest, Camelback, and Santiago, and that's also a mess. And that's where the streetscape was supposed to have started, because the four-way stop there is it's just a minor suggestion to most drivers on Stevens Forest Road. You're taking to your life in your hands as a pedestrian, biker, or driver if you're crossing over Stevens Forest from Santiago or Camelback as well. So I actually think there's a whole bad situation on Stevens Forest Road, basically from Santiago to the end. And a lot of that could be addressed via the streetscape and other improvements. It's just not a well-designed road.
Well, all of the improvements will be part of the streetscape. So
Right. Well, that's why I'm saying, I
piecemeal
think we should be pushing harder for that, and maybe
Right.
also push it, not just push it from a beautification standpoint, but push it from a safety standpoint.
Yeah, that's the biggest push.
So, Jonathan, can you just remind me, maybe I missed this, but when we get a response back from the county, when we put it into our budget request, what do they give as where it sits in their scheme of things, or
They don't really give
They
where it
don't.
sits in the scheme of things. They
I'm
just
pretty
say
sure it's not sitting anywhere.
Well, I mean, the few responses we've gotten have indicated, yeah, it's sitting there, but the funding's not there. So
And
we
we
need to get
always
the
put
funding
it in.
there.
We've never stopped putting it in. So we,
because the plan, I mean, the plan was done years ago.
right.
And it's a beautiful plan, just as similar to the one that's already done on Whiteacre.
So this is where the VCCP, this is
I
where
think they stopped it because we said that we were going to have development along Stevens Forest.
well, no, we didn't say that.
Yeah.
This was a convenient way not to fund it, because we had the VCCP and the market study, and they looked at the results of those and they said, oh, well, if there's going to be redevelopment, then we shouldn't do the road. But all those were our studies showing what could be. there was no imminent development. No developer has come in here and, filed any plans with the county to do anything. So I think it was a convenient way of reallocating funds that maybe never even existed to other projects and saying, check in with us in the future, Oakland Mills, after this, mystery redevelopment happens. But, I don't think we should be waiting, 3 years for whatever happens with Verona, or even longer for whatever happens with the Village Center or whatever. There's no need to put something that was already planned off, as long as we can get the funding for it, for things that are just hopes and dreams right now.
Right, I do think that we need to revisit it because we weren't firm on the intersections. Like, the streetscape looked nice in between,
Mhm.
but the intersections were not firm, but that's okay. I mean, we have the basic structure of it. We have to look at the crossings more carefully.
Yeah, I think we had an idea for a circle initially.
Yeah, but then that I'm not sure that was feasible, but I mean, I think we need to bring it back to the table. I have it. I can share it with everyone.
Ginny? Ginny, you have to unmute.
I just did, yeah. I'm just wondering if Raina could comment on it in terms of where the crosswalk is there. But, and this, I guess it'd be unusual, is there a need in terms of children and family trying to cross to have another one? I guess I'm trying to see, right, I'm pointing to it, you can't see I'm pointing, like a parallel for the other side of the street over to
That?
the village. Yeah, thank you. Perfect. Perfect, Jonathan. You're going to be an
Yeah.
angel. Bill, you have competition here. Yeah, that's it. So, Raina, I don't know, do people kind of walk both ways or?
Because I've seen it myself firsthand, that people cannot cross the street easily. And cars will hesitate, stop, and then they'll go, and, it's just a lot of throwing your hands up. Because there's no real direction when you see people. I've seen people come in the middle and have to stop because a car is not stopping. So yes, some much needed attention is due for that part of the crosswalk. And for me sitting here looking at it from this direction, like, you can't even see where the other crosswalk is, and you can barely see that it's one here, right here at Stevens, at the entrance to the property and the entrance going into the Village Center. You can barely see it. And so it is not, so I think, yes, we need to put our attentions on that. It is a hazard.
Ginny, I think the challenge of putting a crosswalk here is, while it would connect this corner to this corner, if you picture the Village Center, you
Yeah.
end up about halfway past or halfway to alongside the Pizza Man property, and the sidewalk on this side of Robert Oliver Place just dead ends. So then people would have
Right.
to wander out into the street to get to the other side
You're
anyway.
right. Make it
So
more
yeah.
dangerous.
It's
You're
probably best
absolutely-
just to funnel them to this one and have them go straight from there.
You're
But
you're right,
um,
Jonathan. Thank you.
Rena's absolutely right. I mean,
Yeah.
I go for a lot of walks in this area, and I very rarely cross at this one or the other one. I cross at the four-way stop at Camelback, or I cross at the light all the way up at Kilimanjaro and then walk down this side of the road, because it's just, it's not worth taking your life in your hands to cross
it's not.
these. But I'm fortunate enough to live at the other end. So those crosswalks, those controlled crosswalks are accessible to me. If you live, anywhere from Santiago and Camelback down to the end of Stevens Forest, you're crossing at one of these terrible crosswalks. You're not going to walk all the way up just to walk all the way back down again.
No.
Can we do next steps?
Yeah, I mean, I think one next step is to find the documentation we had on.
Oh,
the
I
street-
have it.
Okay, so that we can review that. I don't know if there's also been any past correspondence specific to the crosswalks outside of the streetscape. But
I'll look. I don't know. I think it was all to the streetscape, but
Okay.
it did come up again though with the bridge. It was like,
yes,
yeah. So I mean, that's all new since we even looked at the streetscape.
yes. But I think we should consider going to the county. Well, I think we should have the traffic people in to hear the concerns. And I think we should basically consider going to the county with a two-phase demand, I would say at this point, because safety should be a demand, not a request. One phase should be a short-term fix to make these crosswalks more visible and make the traffic aware of the crosswalks and slow down. And then the longer term should be the comprehensive, reconfiguration of Stevens Forest Road via the streetscape.
Yeah, I agree.
Stevens Forest Road amazes me because it's like, I don't know what the design philosophy was, but it's basically a terrible road from start to finish, from even on the other side of Broken Land, but from Broken Land all the way to the end, up at Columbia Point. It's just, everything about it is wrong.
And I'll tell you, and I've told other people, but no one listens. It's the only main road in a Columbia village where house driveways back right onto the road.
Mhm.
And no other village, I've gone through every village, has their main road in and out with homes and driveways. So
Oh, okay.
that adds to it.
Sandy, you're so right. When we
Yeah.
first moved
I know
here-
I'm right. Yeah.
When we when we first moved here, I remember a guy, because I'm on 40 Winks, but a guy across on Stevens Forest was complaining about getting out of his driveway, and he wanted us to put stop signs all over the place and do something about the road. And it was just designed poorly compared to
Mhm.
going through Owen Brown, Kings. They learned a lesson, but it's
Mhm.
pretty pathetic. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I think part of the design was that it was all the model park initially, right there, the corner of
Jacob's Ladder.
all of that, and also going down a little bit down in Camelback and Stevens Forest, right along Stevens Forest there. And so I think they just kind of continued on. And in the beginning, they wanted a nice walkable area right from the model park up to the other barn. So it gave kind of this village quality. And then they just kept going with it. They didn't go back and re-engineer it as they started building out the village.
Okay.
All right, so I think we're in agreement on next steps. Sandy, let's reach out to traffic and see if we can get someone in as soon as the next meeting, if possible. 'Cause
Yeah,
it'll
I'll
be old
try.
business. And review what we have around the streetscape. With the streetscape still is in our budget testimony, but I think we should consider maybe rewriting that a bit and really stressing the safety part of it in addition to the aesthetics, because
Yeah, I did add more for tonight about, after Rebecca had brought that up about that, but we can even enhance it more.
Okay. Rebecca,
Thank
did you have additional thoughts?
Bill does.
Oh, hi, Bill.
I have a lot of thoughts on it, but I'll limit it to, it might be a good idea, although it might be difficult with the virus and the workload or the number of hours worked down for people. It might be a good idea to get a traffic engineer assigned to this and meet with them at Stevens Forest Road at the intersection so they can see it real time live and ask them to use the crosswalks, okay, as prep for them then going into the more engineering analysis on paper with the regs that they have to use in road design. I know that when John DiTomaso and Carol Brain began the issue of Farewell Road and Stevens Forest Road, dealing with that, what really swung the traffic engineer's opinion was when Carol and John did a video of actual circumstances at that intersection. And that got the eye of the traffic engineers. And then I think a site visit with Buck Bomer and Carol and John really made it come alive for the traffic engineer folks. So something along that same line might be beneficial. Get them to visit first before we ask them in on a meeting. Just an idea. It might be more difficult with reduced workload, et cetera.
I do see Warren is here on the meeting. Maybe we can see if the Public Space Committee wants to do a little street watching survey. So we have, some kind of numbers or pictures or something to take.
That'd be great.
Can he unmute?
I
You should
asked
be able
him.
to.
Oh,
There
He's
we go.
hiding.
Yes, we can do that. I'll put it on the agenda. I think that, I think you're all right. Stevens Forest is a poorly designed road, and I think we really need to address that. And it's
And-
definitely unsafe.
And I'll be happy to get out there and take some video. I was actually hoping when I was out for my lunchtime walk today that maybe there would be people trying to use the crosswalk. And as beautiful as it was, everything was deserted. I don't know why. There weren't any people out when I was out today walking. So I stood there for a little while. I took my still pictures. That van was like the only car I saw. It was just dead out there today, of all times. Normally on Stevens Forest Road, you can't, get a moment of peace. And today there was nothing going on. But
Well,
with the
try
weather nice, I'm going to
tomorrow.
get out more. Yeah, I'm going to
Yeah,
get out for
try
walks.
When the kids are on the asynchronous day and they're out and about.
Yeah. All right, Bill.
Yeah, just real quick point. I think it's extremely beneficial that we always have Ashley Alston on the calls and that Michael Harris is here today, because this can help them understand from the ground level up, from the beginning of the process through, what the local issues are, so that if and when at some point in the future on this issue, bigger issue of Stevens Forest Road and streetscape, et cetera, that we would need to engage Opal Jones. It's great that his people are in on every call, and I really appreciate it. I know that at times it can be boring, okay, but it's excellent that you're here, and I thank you and his leadership in getting you on these calls. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. All right, Sandy, I'm going to send it over to you for draft fiscal 22 budget discussion.
Okay. Let me just write myself a note.
It feels weird to be saying 22 already when we're just getting away from
Yes.
how horrible 20 was, but
Yeah, 21's not too great either. Anyway, I don't have anything to share. I just wanted to get this on the budget or in the as new business, because this is the time of year that I will look at our last year's budget and 2 years ago budget and try to draft what we think will be our operating and budget for FY22, which begins May 1. So I just want you to know that. And in the next 2 weeks, I will put together a draft, and then each meeting thereafter until the last meeting in April, when the board will vote on the draft, we'll tweak it, look at it, make sure that you are comfortable with what's in it. And basically our budgets each year pretty much are the same. I mean, we're not putting the budget each event we're holding, but we put in the income we think will generate the expenses for those. And most of our expenses are fixed expenses, and most of our income is the CA assessment and our rentals. So my challenge will just be to kind of estimate what I think our rental income will be next year. And then I can base staffing and other expenses off of that. So I just wanted to get it in your minds. And if anyone needs any refresher on the budgets or whatever, feel free to ask me. And at the next meeting, it'll be the first draft of the FY22 budget.
thanks,
That was
Sandy.
short and sweet.
Can I make one suggestion? Since, I mean, really, thanks to your management, we seem to be doing better this year than we thought we did. And, hopefully with vaccinations rolling out and other things maybe looking better, we'll start being able to host more events and maybe have some of our tenants back at full rent. As you work the budget, consider maybe adding a bit more back to our donations line.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if the excess cash reserve cap is still going to be there, because there are organizations in the community I know we probably would have wanted to have supported this year had we done the normal donations process, but it was so uncertain back in October that we didn't do that. And I'm hoping next year we'll be able to.
Yeah, we good to go back to that process. So
Okay.
absolutely. Thank you, but I would. That's all on that. I
Okay.
just wanted to get it on there.
Okay, everyone on my screen. Oh, we lost Rebecca. My screen changed all the tiles changed size because Rebecca's not here. Oh, she must have gotten disconnected. Let me give like 10 seconds to see if she reconnects.
She went out on her bike to check the path.
She's out there with it, taking videos.
Traffic's pretty big now, so she's gonna go out there.
All right, well, I'll start the board chair report. And really the one thing I wanted to cover that's been on my mind, if anyone's unaware, there was a shooting in Oakland Mills Saturday. It was over by Brett Lane, kind of off of Farewell Road. Fortunately, the victim of the shooting has survived and I believe is now in stable condition up at Shock Trauma. Unfortunately, I mean, any shooting is unfortunate, but especially unfortunate is, this was a 15-year-old boy. So, this was very much a child. You're talking basically probably a freshman in high school. We don't know who it was. Sandy did reach out to the police to see if she could get more information than what they were putting out publicly. And they basically said what we put out publicly is what you can look to. So we don't know any circumstances beyond what was put in the police report, nor do we have any updates. But obviously this was the second shooting in Oakland Mills in several months. There was unfortunately the fatal one at Verona last year in the fall, I believe. I'm losing all track of time. It was the fall. And of course, across Columbia, there have been, a few shootings over the past year. So, we don't necessarily know what's driving this, whether this is an anomaly, whether this is a trend. The police really haven't said very much. They obviously made an arrest in the other shooting that happened. We haven't heard anything about what's going on with this one. So, I wanted to know if the board felt we should invite the police in or invite others in. We don't really have a functioning safety committee right now, so we can just do it as the board, just to sort of talk to us about, what's going on in Oakland Mills and even in the broader community. Because, I honestly don't know. Obviously, when something this bad happens, it really stands out. I don't know if this is an indicator that crime is increasing, that these are just unfortunate random incidents that are not part of a trend or what, but I do think it would be interesting to hear personally, and also to see what the police are doing, not only to investigate these, individual crimes, but to see what the police are doing to ensure we can, prevent future crimes like this. Lynn?
I totally think we need to have the police and maybe Dr. Jones as well, because I think it's very upsetting. It's a cluster, and even if we don't know if they're related, the police might. And so we just was it just like 6 weeks ago there was the shooting at Monarch Mills. So we've had kind of a spike, definitely a spike. I mean, myself, I mean, the Brett Lane is just right through on the path where I take a walk, every other day, right through the woods there. And that's 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday. It's how comfortable would I feel having my grandkids going out and playing behind our house, knowing that this sort of thing goes on. So I think we do need to get some answers from the police. What are they seeing? Do they see it as some sort of a pattern to it? And what are they doing? I know for a while they were really patrolling the pathways a lot. You saw the police on bicycles going down the pathways. I haven't seen that in quite a while. So I'm all in favor of, yes, let's invite them to a meeting.
Okay. And Ginny and I met a nice detective at the Village Center a few months ago. Go ahead, Ginny.
You're muted.
Ginny, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry about that. We got to go up there again, see what else we can pick up. No, I'm sorry. Okay, getting there. Raina and I were at another meeting and last night, they all began to blur after a while. And I was very concerned about something we heard that, and Raina, you can correct me.
Yeah.
But there was there's a lot of teenagers overdosing on drugs, and it's becoming a real concern. So I'm wondering if we could combine the police talking about it as well, and maybe the health officer come as well and talk about that. Is it as serious a problem? Because one of the people in our group was extremely upset and thinks it is a very serious problem.
Michael.
Yeah.
Good evening, Oakland Mills Village Board. Once again, Jonathan, thank you for this opportunity to speak to you all. Our office has reached out to Captain Middlenex, and he did inform us the same thing that you all have. And also with this ongoing concern, our office will be happy, I'll be happy to perhaps facilitate this meeting and presentation with the police and also with the Howard County Health Department. So please let me know when your next meeting is, or when you want to have this discussion, and I'll be happy to help facilitate that with our county partners.
Thank you. We would greatly appreciate
Yes.
that. And Michael, our meetings are at 7 o'clock on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month.
Yes, sir.
if you can reach out to them and find out, which one of those Tuesdays they might be available, then we can work it into the agenda.
Fantastic, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, were there other comments? Really, that's all I wanted to talk about tonight, because that's the thing that's been weighing on my mind since Saturday. I actually don't think I have anything else anyway, but everything else I had was less important and has probably slipped my mind by now.
Yeah, I just would like to say that I didn't know about the shooting of the teenager. I knew later, but I didn't know where it was. So I'm surprised to find out that it was here in Oakland Mills. And then also about the young man that with the overdose, I didn't even know anything about that. That's a new thing now, about them putting this fentanyl into drugs and all this kind of stuff. I didn't even know about that as well. And that it's it's happening much frequently than I would ever have thought. Someone just educated me to all of this. And so, yes, I think that we should be in front of it and that we should be talking to the police and authorities about it. And we need to let the residents in this village know about it, especially the parents, because I heard that even from the young lady that was speaking at the meeting that Jenny was speaking about, that it's got some glory in it too, of dying this way or whatever, And the young man that succumbed, I would have thought he would have known better, because he lived here when I first got here. He was he probably was about 10 when I first got here. And I think the last time, I haven't seen him in a while, but one of the residents today was telling me she saw him just this week and he was supposed to return to her house. But because he's out there, so to speak, I would have thought he would know to be a little bit more leery about this, taking anything from anybody. And so that concerns me, that if he didn't know, you know what I mean? And so, and they're saying that a lot of our young people are doing that a lot more than we know about it. And I'm hearing about it even in Prince George's County as well.
No surprise.
I don't think there are many places anymore where drugs are not a problem.
Right, there you go.
I think there are some places where you don't hear about it as often because, for a variety of reasons, but it's a problem everywhere. Okay, well, thank you very much, Michael. If you can start working on arranging that, please work with Sandy. And as soon as they're available, we'll make sure that we provide them ample time on a future agenda.
For sure, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, that's all I have. So I will pass it off now to Ginny for the CCR report.
Okay, and if you think of anything else, Jonathan, feel free to interrupt me.
Thanks. Wait a minute. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, God. And in terms of the health department, I was just, didn't necessarily mean the health officer, but they have a mental health division, she'll know who to who to send, but I think it could be very enlightening. Okay, CA budget, you know, we passed it. I think the vote was 7-3, if I'm not mistaken. There were some areas that I want to thank the board for their advice on, which were very difficult areas for the board in terms of the Haven. Well, we got tons and tons of emails where people really felt that was the only facility that helped them, et cetera. That was a very tough decision. I've met since then with the economic development for the county today and last week with Downtown Partnership, head of that, to talk about the Haven. And I just went over there again to check on a few things from some ideas I had gotten. I went over there this morning. Some visionary things that people are talking about, because the downtown has gone dark. The only restaurant open is the Japanese. That's pretty pathetic. So everything seems to be going, and Howard Hughes is more concentrating, it seems, in the Meriwether Post District and opening up restaurants and other things. We're trying to figure out what's the best approach, because we will continue, CA will continue, and you, to pay rent at the Haven until something's done for the next couple of years. Some suggestions were, you know, just take the health part with all the equipment and everything that you can't use anyplace else anyway, and keep that part, and then have Howard Hughes help us in economic development with the other part. And then other people were talking about a wine bar, a coffee bar in the front area, which has really got a beautiful view of the lake. And I'm actually was thinking, when I talked to these guys about it, you know, if you move the windows out and had more of outdoor seating, indoor, outdoor, it might be a very attractive area because you have nothing down there. You know, Clyde's is not there anymore, et cetera. We could even have maybe or the events for nonprofits where you sell tickets to watch the July 4th fireworks, if we ever get those back again. But you can make profit for nonprofits. Okay, so that was a tough one. Just the budget itself, you know, we're not where we were years ago with CA in terms of revenue. Before the school programs, we're really hoping everything gets approved by the schools and we can open those and get some revenue there, and also provide a service in X number of schools. So that's constantly being negotiated with not only the conditions, but what the, you know, what'll happen with the school system, et cetera. The pools, it was a tough decision. I voted at the straw vote a month ago not to support just opening 15 pools, but I did vote for the overall budget because I got an amendment put onto the budget, and I want to thank the Oakland Mills Village board members for their advice on the wording on this, and I'll just read it real quickly. I got advice from a lot of people, and this was kind of, I wasn't sure how many votes we'd get for a couple of days there. So the CA board recognizes that the outdoor pools are an important amenity for Columbia, while at the same time recognizing that the current pandemic continues to seriously impact CA's ability to provide services. In addition to the financial situation, state and county regulations continue to impact how the pools will operate and the number of people allowed in the pool area at any given time. And CA is facing a potential shortage, well, there's no question now, of lifeguards for the outdoor pools. It is a shortage. And I want to thank the board again for your help in trying to help us reach people to recruit more life. Recognizing the importance of community pools, CA staff has proposed a plan which will allow CA to open 15 outdoor pools 7 days a week for the summer. That's more than we've done in the past. This will allow Columbia Neighborhood Swim League's 14 teams to operate this summer and will include recreation as well as program swimming. The 2 indoor pools at the swim center and the indoor pools at 3 CA fitness centers, that's 5 indoor pools, will also remain open during the summer, which in the past they have closed for sometimes significant amount of time during the summer. So that'll stay open. That'll be another option. a month at all of the outdoor pools, as well as continue the 50% subsidy, which comes close to total of about $1 million in the budget, to income qualified individuals and families. And this is important. This does not mean that CA intends to permanently close the other 8 pools. That was a real concern on some people's part. If they close the second year, does this mean that is really targeted for, forget it, it'll never open again. The CA board and staff will continue to monitor the outdoor pool situation. And here's the important part. The CA board authorizes for FY 2022 CA staff to open additional pools if staff, sorry, I lost the other page. Provides, realizes that there are certain, restrictions they have to comply with, a certain number of financials and certain number of lifeguards are you would expect that they would be able to do that. But the point is, you don't have to come back to us and lose maybe a month talking about it. We're saying this is important. Just do it. And I'm also now looking at the finances for this year. And this will be presented to our board on Thursday, because I talked to Milton about a week ago saying, what's the potential for having some revenue, additional revenue or surplus that we could possibly put in a lockbox, so to speak, and say it'll go towards this money that we're going to need to open the pools. It didn't get 10 votes. It got 8 votes out of 10, which I think is pretty good. So, and that's been now put on our CA communications with the public, as well as the whole CA budget and what happened, and all that is available. It's right there with all the problems and conditions that occurred. It's on our website. We have finally some really good communication, people, I think. That's my own personal opinion. Did you hear that, Dave Smith? You can comment at some point.
I agree. I've met with them numerous times, and they're really good communications marketing people.
And we want to get factual, but we want them to communicate, because we frequently, or on occasion, get hit with some attack that has misinformation. Let me put it at that. So one other quick thing, Thursday, we'll be having a briefing on cybersecurity. That is certainly an issue. We get emails periodically, which tell us, you're doing this, that, and the other, open this link. Well, no, you don't want to do that. They keep trying to hack us. So we've been working on improving our cybersecurity. There'll be a briefing on that Thursday. There'll also be a discussion of new town planning and the visioning report. And that's online. You can look at that before the meeting. But the focus areas that were developed, 7 of them, were from surveys and from the group that met. And they settled on 1, diversity, 2, open space, 3, civic engagement, housing, transportation, redevelopment, and governance. And there's a report that you can look at and see more about it. And if you have any questions or any comments, just let me know, or tune in on Thursday. I think the Ann Arbor, I'm sorry, Rebecca.
No, I thought you were done. Carry on. I'll get you at the end.
Okay. The last thing is the Ann Arbor, and I said mostly what I was thinking, but I do hope that the board will really consider taking a position supporting that. They have the ability to get grants, and boy, Nina really is pretty good at turning every rock over and trying to get legislators involved and supporting the grant requests from all different sources. That is phenomenal. So I'm kind of hoping we can lock some of this in, because there's been too many plans for downtown, some a disaster. And this is finally one that is respecting the land and the residents that'll be using it. God bless you. So that's about it. I'm sorry. This week we've been interviewing candidates for the CEO president's role. We're down to 5 candidates. We started yesterday. We didn't do it today because everybody seemed to have board conflicts or other things, but we'll do it another one. We did 2 yesterday. We'll do 1 Wednesday, we'll do 1 Thursday, and another on Friday, and then have deliberations Friday night. And then we'll see if we're going to need a second round, a second interview with someone or some of the candidates, and that'll be the week of March 22nd. The goal still is to have somebody on board May 1st.
Thanks. Thanks, Ginny. Rebecca, did you have a question?
2 things. One, how, and this might be for more us, but it might be CA. How are we reaching out to residents who are not as comfortable with the online reservation system to make sure they're not disenfranchised from the pool system this summer? And 2, the other question is what's it look like when you're interviewing the candidates for the top dog position? Like, are there certain qualifications or questions people are asking, or what's that look like?
Sorry about that. All right, the first question you had, I happened to run into Marty, that you all know from head of aquatics division, over at the Haven this morning. And, excuse me, he thinks there might be a very good chance that we're not going to have to use a reservation system or use it for long, considering, the vaccines and everything else and the way the government's going. That's just his sense. But in terms of if you do have to use it, I guess, which obviously the goal is to make it user-friendly. So if there's something specific where you are concerned or you hear from somebody that they can't get through it or they don't know how to use it, et cetera, please let me know. We want to keep improving it. So let's assume we're going to be using the reservation system until we hear otherwise. Now, one of the negatives that ironically Marty said is you do have some people that will like the reservation system and frankly don't want a lot of other people coming up to the pool, even though some have had vaccines, they don't want to be in big crowds. So, it's like, okay, we got to figure out how we handle all that.
So Ginny, I'm sorry, before you answer Rebecca's second question, I don't know if this is feasible, but I have a suggestion for the reservation system. If we have, pool members who don't have home internet access, what if during the pool hours, like at the, the little area where the off-duty lifeguards gather, what if they had a laptop or tablet available so that you could come to the pool, use that computer, to make a reservation for a future day, and then, they can wipe it down, disinfect it, whatever, and let the next person use it. And that way it's always, secured with someone so no one can wander off with it. But, people could come up to the pool, log in and make their reservation to come back on another day.
And they could also help them do it for people who can't do it.
Yeah, I like that idea. And actually, I'm going to send that in first thing tomorrow morning saying, have you considered this? Yeah.
Ginny?
There'll be very few people, I think, that will do that, but I like it. Yeah. I'm sorry, Sandy?
This is probably not even feasible and it's probably not smart, but if they're going to open up all the pools with no registration, but it's not a comfort level for a certain number of users, I guess, would there ever be pools where it could be a registration system pool so that people know going to that pool, the users would be at a reduced capacity?
That may be a great idea if we could get the money, say, to just open another pool that just does that.
Right.
And I've also heard, although they are going to be working on this, that there are people that just want more adult swim.
Right.
And so he's looking at not one of our pools, but another pool where maybe you could do more of that because it has lower attendance or something.
Right.
So, yeah, I could see that happening. I'm not sure it could happen on the 15 that are already open. But yeah, or maybe you could. Maybe I'm thinking of one that doesn't have much
Like
attendance.
hobbits.
Actually, that's a very good
Yeah.
one. That is basically, you're absolutely right. That is the only reason Hobbits is opening is because it's being used for the River Hill swim teams. Because if the River Hill 2 swim teams that they have went to River Hill, nobody else would be able to use the pool
Mhm.
in River Hill. So they opened something down the road, and
Uh-huh.
you also have programming. So this would be along the line of programming. Yeah. Okay, wait, I'm sorry, I'm taking some notes.
Or maybe, I love that idea, Sandy, splitting comfort levels so that everybody can do what they want, but
Mhm.
maybe even, weekends are open and during the week you take reservations, something like that.
Or certain day, yeah, certain days, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think what you're saying is, okay, we're developing a reservation system. And I think the other thing is, I hope we're going to test it. So I'm going to ask that. And then how do we make it user-friendly with different types of individuals? But
Well, they're
then,
not developing it. They already have it.
I
for
mean,
the
they have,
indoor
I'm
pool.
sorry, right, yeah. But is it really working? I think is the thing. And the other thing is, if it's removed, what are, we got to think through what are our options? Because he's the one that even said, and I agree, restaurants can open and people say, I'm still not eating indoors, even though I've had my vaccines. You hear that. I don't, so why would the pools be any different? Although people say, well, it's outdoors, so it shouldn't be a problem. But there are people that are concerned.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, these are good suggestions. Thank you. And Sandy, that was a smart idea, the Hobbit. I think that is the,
I don't know. Yeah.
because there are other people yelling, why are you up in Hobbit's Glen, Go ahead.
And Rebecca had the second question about the criteria for the president.
Yeah, would you mind giving me that again, the question? I'm not sure whether you meant the questions we're asking them. Or what.
Yeah, what's it look like when you're interviewing them? I mean, are all the board members asking whatever questions they want, or are there certain guidelines that you're going by, or what?
Both.
Yeah.
Both. We worked with the consultant, and like I was the moderator for the first one yesterday, and we had 8 questions, and every candidate will get the same 8 questions. Then the
Okay.
candidate responds to those 8 questions. But after I ask the first question, the candidate responds. And then I ask my colleagues, do you have any follow-up questions? And then they get a chance to ask, well, what did you mean? But, whatever. And then when there are no other, I move on to the second question. And then the last question is, I think, one you would expect. Do you have any questions for us?
Mhm.
Duh.
So all the candidates have the
That
same
actually-
question.
That's the 9th question. Yes, they have to be uniform about it. And there were many, many other tests, personality tests, leadership skill tests, a lot of tests that Baker Tilly does that most consultants don't do. And Baker was the cheapest. I chaired the screening committee to select the firm. Baker is an internationally renowned firm, and they were the cheapest. I'm not sure whether I can disclose the amount or not, but it probably, you would be, I guess, way off as to what it costs. It was very low. And they are phenomenal. I've been extremely pleased with them. So there are a lot of tests. There's a video. They took a video, the 15, when they narrowed it from 82 to 15. They each did a video with 3 questions, and you just threw the questions at them, not what Baker Tilly's people did. And they had 3 minutes to respond to that question right away. They didn't have the questions in advance or anything like that. And then we got the videos to then look at their responses, et cetera. And of course, they had a written statements to other questions, et cetera. Very thorough process. I'm very impressed with Baker Tilly.
And I assume that those are confidential until somebody's hired. We don't get to see those beforehand.
We are not disclosing the names of the 82, the 15, or the 5. Some of them do not want their names disclosed, but when when there've been some checks and background checks now, there'll be criminal background checks. So a final offer will not be made till the end of April because you still got a lot more things to do, even if when we pick one or pick two, there's still more. I honestly I like the idea of a second interview in person. So we're trying to figure out how do we do a hybrid where there are some board members that do not want to be in person and still want to do the visual. I would prefer, some of us would prefer that we'd be able to meet the person. So if we go to a second round, and I'm really pushing for a second round, that we actually meet the people, interview them in person. And that's basically the process. Then as communications people are developing an outreach plan. Many board members feel very strongly that we need to tell everybody that this is the person, but this is the plan for them. They'll be visiting every village board, for example. They'll be going to stakeholder groups meetings so that you will all get to actually meet this person quickly. They will not be sitting in their office.
Thank you, Ginny.
Does that answer? Anybody have any other questions or concerns about the process or? Okay.
All right. Thanks, Ginny. Sandy, do you want me to bring up the financials while you talk us through
Yes,
them?
that would be
Okay.
great.
I'm assuming you want the financials themselves and not the variance memo first, right?
Yeah, I can explain the variance as we do the
Okay.
financials. So this report is our third quarter FY21 financial report for the months of November, December, and January. And I don't want that page. Go to this page is good. So it talks about our revenues. And the first column is our actual quarter, our year-to-date actual revenue income, our year-to-date budget, and the variance is the difference between our budget and actual. And we have to report a variance for anything that's 25% higher or lower than the budget or over $500. So in the revenues, everything was within the variance. We were $1 off in our annual share, but $1,100 lower revenue. But that was just a ballpark back in August to figure out how many rentals we may have had. So it's actually pretty close. We haven't had many, but we have been fortunate to have a monthly tenant at Talbot Spring or a weekly tenant at Talbot Springs. We've gotten partial payment from the village in Howard, and now they're actually paying their whole amount. And we have half payment from Oakland Mills Nursery School, who hasn't even been there since last March, but they have use of the building and storage, so they opted to pay that. So that's our revenue. We haven't had special events. We haven't, miscellaneous income is sales of, I believe that's homeowner packets. Yeah, we're doing great on that. People are buying and selling. So that is, there's other in miscellaneous. I'm sorry, miscellaneous income is $12,000. I can't explain. Something's not right there. But anyway, this is our revenue. So the total revenue, actual money, is 200 for the year-to-date, 284,758. Then for our expenses, again,
Sandy, I think that if any, there might just be an extra zero on that miscellaneous, because if that were 1,200 instead of 12,000, it would kind of be aligned with the 1,800 last year minus COVID's impact on everything revenue wise.
But the year-to-date budget is high. That's why I have to ask Debbie to drill into that.
Okay.
What about the, do you include any of the grants or anything that we've gotten?
Oh,
Oh, is it the grant?
yeah, that's what it
Okay.
is. Thank you,
Okay.
Amy. It is the, it's not the grant, it's the loan. The, Federal Small Business Association loan.
Before you move on from revenue, Sandy, I have to give some commentary just because I haven't appreciated some, implications I've heard that some villages may basically be, hoarding revenue. I mean, obviously we all know about the cut to our annual charge share, but look at year-to-date lease and rental this year versus last year. Last year at this time it was almost $153,000. This year it's basically $10,400. So, there's not a lot coming in. So any extra we have is due to responsible budgeting, not because we're just raking in dollars and saving them for ourselves.
Oh,
I just
no,
wanted to
yeah.
say that.
Uh-huh. No, I mean, it is what, you can't fudge the numbers. And that is, Amy, thank you, the loan and miscellaneous. And it's not been paid back. Okay, then staff salaries.
Sandy, can that line item be changed to reflect that it is loans so that there's no question about those
No,
revenues that,
it's change. I mean, I have to ask Debbie, we can't change those.
so how do we,
But
how do we make it clear what's
go
from the
to the,
loan so that, hang
hold on
on,
a second.
I just want to know, how do we make it clear that that's from the loan so that if CA imposes the 20% cap and we're over it, we know it's not the loan counting toward that?
Because of the way Debbie will actually give them
Okay,
the finances.
okay.
Hold on a second.
So you can't put a comment on there or anything.
She does it all in her reports, but we cannot, these statements are exactly as we have to do them, and every village does them that way. I will just get back to you for the exact detail on that revenue. Oh, it is. It's in here. It's under other, but then there'll be an explanation. It's $10,000. If you went to the detailed statement of activities, maybe we should be looking at that instead.
Oh,
Here.
okay, there we go, yeah.
Yeah, under other. We'll go from this chart. Down here, under other, that is the $10,000. Okay, so yeah, we are basically, I feel pretty good about us putting out a budget last August and hitting it on the head with where we thought we'd be. And so we can go to expenses now. And staff salaries were actually under budget by over $9,000. And basically that accounts most in part because we're down a covenant advisor. So there's not a salary going out to that individual, even at the reduced hours. So it never would have been a full hourly salary because that was reduced, but that accounts for that. So again, I think we're pretty close to the budget there. What other things? Wherever there's a parentheses, we've spent less than we thought we would because we're not operating. We had no idea what things would cost at the beginning of the year, or how we were in payroll taxes or benefits. Which one has the variance? It's just my calculation was wrong. So that's the explanation. And next year, Debbie will help me more with the calculation on the taxes. So that was why we're paying the right amount. It's just that in calculating it for the year-to-date budget, it was off. Our cleaning expenses, of course, are down. We're just paying Judd to go to the centers every week and spot clean, flush toilets, and do all that. We haven't had any legal fees this year. The accounting fees are what we would have expected, and everything else is lower. I mean, we're just not incurring any costs. I can't say anything other than we're not spending money. The place where we did go over a little bit was in other printing, and that is throughout the year we have homeowner packets, and it's like 30 pages of different documents. And so I've taken them to Staples after standing in the office twice and doing 30 copies of 30 documents. I decided that it was time well spent to have Staples print that for us. So that was that money. But the donations on old business at the next meeting, we will bring up the donations. And when we approve this budget, it was the assumption that we would donate this year to the 5 schools. So we've already talked about it in this fiscal year. So at the next meeting, it'll be under old business to actually disperse funds for donations based on not just that line, but also where we stand at the end of the third quarter. All the utilities are lower than anticipated. The building fees and are nothing that unusual. We've had extra fees because of the fans we had installed, and we bought fans. So I think that's why that $1,000 is there. And so our bottom line is that we have, John, let me just see the top. If you took our expenses, which were 284,000, and you took our expenses were 229,000, and our income was 284,000, we have a surplus of $55,000 over budget year-to-date actual than projected. Based on our budget, that figure is $20,978. But actual numbers are $55,350.
So we're doing
right
a bit better than we anticipated.
We are, because
mainly because all these expenses are
right
way down.
Right. And a big thing is the salaries. And we hope to once the staff is vaccinated and ready to go back and we have events going on, we'll transition back to being at the other barn. But right now that's just me who's vaccinated, and other people also have their kids right now at home doing school. But I expect, that we'll start transitioning back definitely during May or possibly before. And Brigitte and I will be going there a lot in between. So if people need me, I'll always let them know when I'm going to be there.
Well, that'll be the next fiscal year anyway.
It is. So that starts May
Yeah.
1. So our budget is still the way it is until the end of April. And hopefully by the, next fiscal year, people will have gotten vaccinated and we can start doing more. We have rentals on the books. We're still going at a capacity of 100 because you still have to social distance. And so we can't have 200 people and have them social distance. So we're starting out like that. And people are interested in that size. And so that is the year-to-date, quarter-to-date budget. And I guess we'll just need some motions or discussions.
So one thing I'd like to discuss very briefly, because I know you're going to bring this back at the next meeting to follow up on our donations. When we did the donations budget, not only did we suspend our process because we weren't sure whether we'd give out any, but even under the assumption that we would still try to give something to the 5 schools or more likely the 5 schools PTAs, we cut in half what we would normally give. We would normally give about 500 to each PTA plus other needs they came in with. This works out to 250. Given the year we're having, I think we should consider at least upping the amount to the schools. I don't know that there's time to solicit, for other donation needs, given that our board only has 3 meetings left after this one. So it would have to be a very expedited process. And obviously anyone asking us for money needs to be vetted to make sure that they're a, 501 3C in good standing and everything. But I do think given this bottom line number we're looking at here, which is much better than expected, we could consider perhaps, at least restoring the school support back to what it once was. Because I know just from being, I'm not on the board of any PTAs anymore. I'm a member of 2 of them. And I know just from being a member that, there's a lot of things they can be doing for the schools, but there's also in Oakland Mills, revenue is always a problem for PTAs. Now it's even worse because they're not even having those usual events where they get members to sign up, and they're not having the usual, fundraisers they have, because the PTAs are very much not really virtual organizations. PTAs are all about bringing people together, in the school for various events, and those things just aren't happening right now. So there's no revenue coming in for them to give support to the school for, even the basic things like teacher appreciation, or, buying the extra supplies, or things like that. So something I'd like everyone to think about.
Thinking. Do you want to move ahead with a vote on the budget, Jonathan, to accept it?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept the third quarter financials as submitted. Is there a second?
Second,
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, 0.
Okay, thank you. And the last thing I'll mention is that I'm working with the farmers market and Cedar Properties for the farmers market to start again, hopefully Mother's Day through this Sunday before Thanksgiving. So I've sent the information to Cedar Property Manager, and she has it. So I haven't heard that anything will not go other than right with that. That's it.
Great.
Oh, and in the future, we are planning a shredding day and an outdoor plant sale. So that'll all happen in May and June. We just have to get dates.
Oh, do you have any update
Oh,
on
and 2
our,
pool parties this year, one at Thunder Hill and one at Stevens Forest.
do you
What,
have an,
Jonathan?
do you have an update on our Columbia Cleans, but in a socially distant way
Not
idea?
an update. I have
Okay.
to just get it out. It's Columbia Cleans. We are going to do what we were going to do last year, but it was canceled. It's going to be Oakland Mills Cleans at Home with a capital O and a capital M, and hoping people will just clean up their neighborhoods, their streets, the open space behind their houses. So, Amy, note to self: we have to start promoting that, and I think that's May 1st. So it's a while.
Was CA still willing to give us the
Oh
supplies
yeah, they
that
thought
people
it was
could
a
pick
great
up?
idea.
Oh, okay, great. Okay.
Yeah. Oh no, they
Okay.
were like, that's really good.
Great.
So yeah.
Great. All right. Thank you.
Danielle at CA is also great to work with. I'll put a plug in for her.
Thank you, Sandy.
Mhm.
Lynn, anything architecture?
No, not really. We had a meeting. We're continuing on with our 2 meetings a month for the RAC, and they go really smoothly. They're really enjoyable. A lot of good stuff happening in Oakland Mills.
All right. Well, then we are on to the bulletin board. So I will start with Bill.
nope, nothing.
Okay, Rena? Okay, thanks, Rena. Lynn?
No, nothing more.
Rebecca? No? Ginny?
Not until you want to go street walking at the village center with me, no.
Well, let's not call it street walking together.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Never, I had another comment, but never.
How about strolling through the village center?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, as long as we can keep this conversation going.
Okay. Amy? Sandy? All right. I just have one quick thing. I did reach back out to Dr. Fink about the possible rehabilitation of the hill at the mill. He thanked me for reaching out again because the school system grounds department had not gotten back to him. So he was reaching out again to them today, and hopefully I'll hear from him by the end of the week, and then I can report something back to all of you. All right. Well, with that, we are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Oh,
San-
Sandy, real quick.
Yeah, I'm
Are
here.
there
And
any
Jonathan.